the streets. Madame Faruzan here is pretty friendly. When she heard that we were buying clothes, she decided to give us some help.
I don't really see anything I'm familiar with. Never mind. We can purchase some textiles and make the clothes ourselves.
Oh, thanks a lot. But I really don't think I qualify as a genius. In the second round, for instance, I dozed off and somehow found myself beside the device when I came to.
Ah, come on, don't be so hard on yourself. We've decided we're taking you out to celebrate, and that's final. Let's go. Cheer up, Layla. The rest of today's all about you.
I won't comment on his theories or experiments, but I don't believe that he was careless in his choice of candidate. He chose you. That means he knew what he was doing.
Perhaps. I just think that if you accept someone else's things, you should honor their wishes.
That's a good thing. It means that you have integrity.
Thank you, oh my god, thank you. See, you get me, Kale.
The world is the same way. No one, not even I included, can understand it in its entirety. All of us are somewhere on the path toward truth. Within the confines of our limited knowledge, some may blindly believe in the beauty of this world, and others may focus only on its evils. In truth, the most important thing isn't what state the world is in now, but what people hope it will become. But of course, I don't mean that as a criticism or a call to action. Ultimately...
So, just gotta go through a whole another thing, just another 30 minutes, and I'm done for the day. Genshin is done for a bit. Till the next event. And it wants us to buy information. Well, pup, if you're gonna stick in here, I'm gonna be shutting this door because I got stuff to do. Anyway. Paimon's a little curious about your exclusive information, but we need to hear the price first. If it's too expensive, then forget it. I'll sell it to you for a fixed price of 1 million mora. That's a lot, never mind. 1 million mora can buy lots and lots of tasty food. Oh, wait a sec, let me see. Paimon is customer number 1001 for today. The original cost of the information was 1 million mora, but for you, the price is now free. Eh? Paimon didn't know such luck as this. Wait, you're not baiting us into spending, are you? Maybe the first sentence is free, but not the next sentence. If you don't want it, then fine. Wait, what Paimon said. Forget what Paimon said, well listen. Dory's exclusive scoop number 1. Do you remember the Diadem of Knowledge? Paimon remembers only the champion was entitled to wear the diadem. It seemed very valuable. Exactly. The diadem that Sachin gave the Academia was a rather expensive antique. Yet this very diadem, after it was donated to the Academia, was lost by them once before. Why didn't we hear about this? If everyone knew about this, would my information still be considered exclusive? Of course, this information doesn't come from nowhere. I've got witnesses, too. There's a young fellow named Kashmar from the suburbs. If you're interested in delving further, you could ask him. The password is the incident from 20 years ago. Well, looks like we're gonna need to figure out something that I didn't think we would have to do. I got confused about talking to Dory earlier because it just kind of disappeared, and then, well, here it is, and now I gotta do it. Puppy, I need you to stay in one place. Stay in one place. Stop running back and forth between rooms. Anyway, who are you guys? Is there something you need? The incident from 20 years ago. I guess I shouldn't have told anyone. Last time I had too much to drink and blabbed a little too much. Now people are seeking me out. Since you're curious, I guess I'll tell you. I was just 6 years old 20 years ago, so I can't remember clearly what happened at the time. But recently I read the diary I kept when I was a child, and vaguely recalled the situation back then. The Interdashan Championship was also held that year. There were 3 rounds, the last of which was outside the city. I begged my mom to take me out of town to see it, and when she refused, I snuck out. And then? I ended up getting lost outside the city, in the middle of nowhere. There was no one around. I grew more and more frightened and began to cry. That's when I saw some strange creatures. I can't remember what they looked like. I only remember how, as a child, I stopped crying at the sight of them. Strange creatures? They must be the Aranara. They took me to the competition. Unfortunately, by the time we got there, it was too late. It was already over. Just when I was disheartened, I suddenly saw one of those creatures slowly dragging a crown along. It was a beautiful crown, shining in the moonlight, and I could not help but follow it. I saw the little fellow hide the crown in a hollow tree before disappearing. I wanted to touch that crown, but at the moment I could hear the distant cries of my mother. It turns out she figured out I was lost and got her neighbors to go looking for me. I never got to touch it. It wasn't until I was older when I saw the Diadem of Knowledge at the International Championship that I realized it was the same thing. Do you remember where the diadem ended up? It's probably in the Avidia Forest, but I've been back a few times and I haven't found anything. No one would believe me even if I told them. Alas, even I can't remember it clearly. Perhaps it was a dream I had when I was a child. Well, should we go look for it, Wilmeen? No? Worries there's a whole quest to this part, huh? This isn't even the side quest I was planning on doing. There's a side quest that opened up after you did Nahita's story quest that I wanted to go do. This wasn't even part of my plans at all. Ugh, my fingers are all torn up. I need to stop messing around. There's a hole in the tree. It seems completely empty and there's nothing in it. Wait, there's a note here. The good Nora taught Arkasakbia how to read. Arakasapia must protect the good Nara. What's that supposed to mean? Is that it? Wow, this is continuing. Well, if it isn't Lumine and Paimon yet again. I have the latest update on the Academia Extravaganza. Would you like to hear it? How much is it? It's free. Isn't Warg Sagma Bay generous? Do you guys remember Sachin? The guy who sponsored the Academia Extravaganza. Paimon heard that the prize money and the Diadem of Knowledge came from him. Bingo. In fact, not long ago, when I was doing business in the desert, I met an old businessman. And guess what I got from him? A dealer's ledger. With it, I can avoid dangerous areas in the desert and go to more places. Of course, the most important thing is the ledger mentioned Sachin. It turned out that Sachin had been in the desert to investigate the people's local conditions and customs. He also had cordial exchanges with the traveling merchants in the desert. Much of the text is lost, but this is the first-hand account of the big sponsor behind the Academia Extravaganza. Would you like to look? Puppy, you literally don't. You're not gonna go hiding that out there, so you better drop that peep before you leave this room. You're not gonna go screwing around, boy. Let's have a look, then. This is all hard to understand. Dory, what does it all mean? What does it all mean? I'm afraid that if you need to analyze, it'll cost you an extra 1 million. Forget it then! Well, since you're not paying, that'll be all of Dory's special news. But let me give you a hint. There should be someone who's been here to see a lot of Academia Extravaganzas. Perhaps you could talk to them. Talk to someone at the venue. Oh, you mean that venue.
Alas, seeing these young children, I can't help but reminisce about the past. The International Championship has always been a stage for young talent. Unfortunately, not every genius will be successful eventually.
Why do you say that?
Geniuses are mostly stubborn and cold, and find it hard to understand the pain of others. Empathetic people, on the other hand, often fall into self-doubt and depression. People who are not firm can only stand still, while people who are not determined but walk down the path refuse to look back. There's a lot to think about here.
What are you looking at? The cat has entered the room and she's just staring at me. What are you... starting to freak me out. It's like, from where I'm sitting, I don't see any light for her, so as far as I know, she could be the demon could have possessed the cat, and there's just black eyes. Is that right? Did the demon possess you? Oh, you okay? Why did you try jumping off of me, boy? Jeez. Man, you'd think a little cute interruption from animals can be nice and good, but then next thing you would have heard is the sound of my dog's head bumping off of something. Yeesh. Anyway. I'm gonna let you know, we may not finish this entire side activity, like this whole side quest going on in the event. If 30 minutes passes up, that's it, it's done.
For this year's International Championship, my favorite has to be Sino. Aside from his skills as the General Mahamatra, looking back at the tournament's history, the Spantamon Darshan has the highest percentage of champions. Many people say that the Spantamon Darshan produces many talented people, such as Cyrus, Usika, Lisa, Sino. The brighter the talent, the sooner the game will lose its suspense. The most exciting competition was still 20 years ago. At the time, my friend also participated in the game, and I went to cheer for him. The last round was played in a video forest. In the end, no one dared to approach them, and no one knew what was going on in the depths of the forest. Then I heard the Academia shut down the competition later. The Interdarshan Championships removed many of the events in which people fought to the death. Discouraging people from being desperate enough to do so. What is your friend like? Let me think. He's honest and kind, but he's also vulnerable and sensitive. Most of all, he cares about us. When we drink together, our time is filled with laughter and cheer. It's just too bad that's all in the past now. Among the friends we drank with, some died, some disappeared, and now some live in seclusion. They say fate is fickle. Perhaps it's true.
Looks like something did happen 20 years ago. Right, didn't Wiggis tell him to seek him out if we had any questions? Now that we have them, now that we have the time, why don't we seek him out? What do you even get from doing this quest chain? More in rare books. Man. The incident from 20 years ago? Why the sudden question? Did you hear any particular information? We've heard that the diadem seems to have been lost 20 years ago, and some contestants' personality has changed. You seem to know a lot about that. Is there something you're not telling us? Not exactly. I was 5 years old when it happened. How could I know? But there are things I've never told anyone. I'm actually part of the Academia's Extravaganza's planning committee, because of the influence of a senior colleague. The senior colleague and I met on a trip. He was a bit timid and would always flee and cower somewhere at first sign of an emergency. One day, 4 years ago, I said to him, I want to go back to the Academia. The Academia Extravaganza is about to begin. And then? Upon mentioning the Academia Extravaganza, he gets startled and said something about it had nothing to do with me. When I said goodbye to him, he insisted on getting a drink with me. After several drinks, he started talking all sorts of nonsense. I also had too many, and in my drunken stupor, I didn't really hear him that well.
I remember when he said that he lost the diadem of knowledge for a while. He was in charge of the distribution and recovery of the diadem of knowledge, and that he nearly had a heart attack upon realizing that the diadem was missing. Fortunately, he finally found it in a tree hole. Like the one we saw before. He said that the diadem of knowledge is a very reliable treasure, valuable, which is recorded in many ancient books. Legend has it that it was built by a famous craftsman in ancient times, and carries a secret that no one knows. Sachin had entrusted the Academy to safeguard the diadem. After all, if my senior was responsible for the diadem's disappearance, he could not afford to pay it with his meager wealth. Even if the loss was temporary, no one would know of it, lest the Academia find him guilty of gross negligence. So he covered it up? Yeah, it seems that Yes, it seems that he also said that many people came to inquire about it, including children, but he said that the diadem had never been lost. But he was so scared that when things blew over, he quit his job and left the Academia. I drank too much that night, and when I woke up the next day, he was gone. The more I thought about it, the more I had a bad feeling that issues would crop up in the Academia Extravaganza if entrusted to someone like him. I didn't have a job at the time, so I joined the Academia Extravaganza Planning Committee. I tried to investigate things on the inside too, but I couldn't find anything. And the diadem was found, and the man whose personality was said to have changed was dead, and there was nothing to be found. Still, 20 years is a long time. Long enough that the people involved from the beginning to no longer remember nor care. That's all I know. If you're curious, keep investigating, and maybe one day you'll discover the truth. That's easy for you to say. We don't have much to go on. Do you have any more information, like where the senior colleague went? I haven't heard from him. Waiter, I also went to the desert to look for him, but in the vast desert it was almost impossible to run into him. To make up for it, I do have some information on Sachin. Would you like to hear it? Sure, tell us. I need to drink some water if I'm gonna keep going like this. We only have 15 minutes left. When I was traveling, I did so with my commander. While we were chatting, he said he came into possession of an article written by an academia researcher. He seemed to think it was something precious and refused to show it to anyone, only to let me peek at it at my request. I only caught a glimpse of it, but I saw that it was signed by Sachin. I didn't know who Sachin was, nor did I care. After joining the Academia Extravaganza Planning Committee, I found out that he was an important member of the Vahumuna Darshan who sponsored the event. If you're interested, you can find the Eremite commander in the desert. He's usually in the valley of Dahri. Information related to Sachin? Let's go have a look. Man, why is this going on? Like, I just want time to go faster. I want to be done. I'm tired. And just want to lay down, finish editing all the stuff, and, wake up tomorrow and not have to edit anything. What do you want? Whoa, this guy looks really fierce. Either say your piece or leave. I have no time for you. Actually, we heard that you have Sachin's article on you, so we were wondering if we could have a look. Are you kidding me? No, why would you ask that? It seems like you guys really don't know. Some time ago, I had the article appraised. Turns out it's nothing more than a personal travel journal, and it is of little value. He hired my father to keep him safe. That Sachin fellow would often walk, ask, write, and mumble. There was one time his papers were blown away by a wind. He said it was no big deal. My father, however, thought that things were written by intellectuals must be valuable, so he looked around for them at night with a torch. None among my family can read. My father cherished this article and then passed it on to me. I had no idea it was completely worthless. Sounds unfortunate, but you still have it? Yes. You want to have a look. You can look at it as much as you want, since it's not worth anything. There's no need for me to be so stingy. Alright, pause if you want to read all that. So this is the article that Sachin wrote. To be honest, Paimon can't make any sense of it, but judging from the crummy handwriting, Paimon can't exactly say why, but Paimon has a feeling that he was going through a tough time. Well, we're done reading it, thank you. You're welcome. It's not worth any money, but I'm gonna keep it anyway. After all, my father entrusted it to me. Come see me again if you want to look at it. And then they want me to go ask for more stuff from Dory. Dude, just end the quest. It's time yet again for an information cell from Lord Sogma Bay. Would you two like to purchase the latest reports? Let me see. This information isn't that important, so it'll only have 500,000. It's half the usual price. What a bargain. Mind giving it to me for free? You want to bring it down to 0 Mora? Just as I expected. But I am the great Lord Sogma Bay. Well, since you're so interested, I'll let you have it for free, but you must keep it to yourselves. I heard that 20 years ago there was a contestant whose personality suddenly changed after taking part in the competition. Well, it looks like someone saw him in Aru Village. I wonder where he ended up. That's all the information you're getting for free. If you want to hear more, you gotta pay 2 million, Mora. I appreciate your patronage. What a ripoff. We can just go to Aru Village.
Do I sound like I give a damn?
I just... Ah. 20 years ago, a young man did appear here. Back then, life was much harder than it is now. Poverty, disease, ignorance, they tormented us constantly. That young man, Curry from the academia with a bright future, was nevertheless willing to come here and help us. He taught us how to deal with Weenut and monsters. He brought us an art of medicine with money from his own pocket and took care of all the ill by himself.
He sounds like a great guy.
Yeah, too bad the good die young. He was always frowning, and no one knew what he was worried about. Everyone was wondering if he was going to leave us. This place did not have the means to properly host him. Still, many say he was a bit crazy to begin with. For example, he would sometimes tell children a story about how, as a child, he thought he taught a strange creature to write. Later, he would often leave the village and explore the desert. Once I asked him what he was looking for, and he said he wanted to talk to someone from the Naga something group. Later on, I heard that he died in the quicksand. It is said he encountered a cavern trapped in quicksand on his way to investigate something. He saved many people, but he himself was unable to get out in time. At the time, there was still a half-finished letter addressed to his child at home. After he died, my son took that letter with him, thinking about delivering it someday.
Is that unfinished letter still here?
No, it is not. To live a better life, my son became a mercenary. He was killed in a scuffle a few years ago, and his belongings were taken. Many years have passed in the blink of an eye. I wonder how his child turned out, and if they hold a grudge against him. Not many people know these things anymore. I'm getting old. Perhaps I'll forget these things soon, too.
Wow, that's really how it ends, huh?
Goddamn. That's just how it ends. Not there.
Well, I know where I want to go.
I really want to do something for them, so they'll have a chance to meet again.
Yeah, and apart from these two fungi, Paimon's a little worried about the floating animal fungus camp.
I feel the same. I have an idea. Why don't we bring them over to live with the other fungi? Both sides have previously lived in the presence of an elemental life form, so their habits should be the same. Yeah, so they can look out for each other. Would you like to come with us?
Let's go.
Looks like it's been convinced. Let's go. Ooh, seems like the fungi here recognize us. They're so friendly and gentle. That elemental life form must have been held in high regard by everyone living here. Are you trying to play with Paimon?
Well, okay then. Lumine, Paimon will be over there playing with the fungi.
Have fun.
I owe you an apology. When the fire seed shattered while we were inside a pep, I had planned to sacrifice my power. Did Paimon tell you that?
Yeah, and I was a little angry.
I wasn't calm enough. I should have given it more thought and made a better judgment of the situation. When I realized that the Dendro Dragon was in danger and that Samara's safety was being threatened, I couldn't help feeling anxious and scared. If I decided to not take action when things can still be done, or if time ran out before I used up all my energy, using my powers may be the easiest way out, but it's also the most difficult.
You still have room for growth.
And I think I've learned a lot from them. I understand what it means to have their wishes come true, but I'm still unable to accept it. Why did it sound so peacefully content when it was trying to do something that just makes you want to cry? Looks like I still haven't fully grasped the concept of empathy yet.
I feel the same.
Thank you for comforting me. Feelings are really complex things, and there is a lot for me to learn. Huh? They're even taking care of crops. Are they simply mirroring the elemental life form's behaviors? But since that fungus even learned to speak, all of this might be due to the long-term effects of elemental power.
Time is a powerful thing.
That's right. And now we don't have to worry about the safety of these two fungi anymore. From now on, I'll be keeping an eye on this fungi camp and come check on them once in a while. I want to preserve the traces they left behind in order to create an opportunity for them to meet in the future. After all, that fungus remembered the name Nur. Its memories came back.
I believe in their bonds as a family.
Let's think of it as a beautiful wish, then. They want some fruit. Come have some fruit. Coming.
Alright, well that right there is it. I have done all I needed to do in Genshin. And now I can rest and just deal with this headache for the rest of the night.
'Cause every night I will sing